Hello and welcome back to the allotment, and welcome back to quite a few more people than we're used to. Not really sure why, but the last video jumped up by about 1,500 people. I'll be very honest, I do these videos for my own mental health. As we were talking about the other week, it's important to have an outlet for something that you enjoy, that takes you away from your day to day. Mine's making videos on here, and I do it for me noggin, and then I put them on the internet because I've made it. Usually get a few hundred views. Been about 1,500 more of you last time, so welcome. You're absolutely welcome to the journey. And if you are enjoying it, you know the drill. Go and give us a like and subscribe and all that malarkey. And I am on Blue Sky, where you can find me as Bearded Gardener. And we spoke about Blue Sky before. It's pretty cool. Okay, to business. It is a fairly naff day here in Birmingham, if I'm completely honest. I was expecting a bit warmer, but it is grey, it is soggy, it's pretty naff, but jobs need doing. Today, we have got some blackcurrants that need popping in the ground, and we've got some gooseberries as well, because Dan has been off buying stuff. So that means we've got things to get on with. But before we do, Dan's been up to some stuff in the house and down here. Dan, what have you been up to in the house?
It's funny you should ask, Mort. So here we have, just take this box off, a selection of chili seeds, which are currently sitting in these propagation trays with a heat mat underneath there, Amazon bargain, and the lights inside. So just pop one of these lids off, and you can see in there we've got a few different types of chilies that are hopefully going to start growing in there. A few more in this one. The Naga Ghosts on the left there. Very, very hot chilies. So going to be a challenging one to grow, but definitely worthwhile. And then a few more under this one. So this should be interesting to get into the polytunnel down at the allotment once we've got that kind of fixed and built back up. But yeah, certainly a good selection here. And first time growing chilies as well. So we'll see how that goes.
There we go, some chilies. I've got some chilies going at home. Nowhere near as scientific as what he's doing. I plonk them in a little pot, put them under a light and cross my fingers. But that's not all he's been doing. He came down to the plot yesterday and did some clearing of our shed.
It is Friday afternoon. Got half an hour spare, so I thought I'd pop down, make a bit of progress here. We've had a few new bits, some felt for the roof of the shed, which at the moment is just some of this chipboard. Some new bits to go into the ground and some more in that bag there. But a few little bits of work to do. But the first thing on my list today is just to clear some of this from around the pond so that we can get an idea of how big it actually is and try and tidy it up a little bit. Make it a bit safer for the kids down here, and hopefully get some kind of fence or board around it at some point over the next week or so. The plot's looking a little bit sad at the moment. Had a fair bit of rain this morning, so everything's a little bit damp and in need of some love, but we are making progress, and hopefully we'll start to have it looking a lot more allotmenty, if that's a word, in the next couple of weeks. Just starting to sort through this pile of timber by the pond, and it seems to be a bit of a gold mine. We've got some rotten timber that's going to go on the burn pile. We've got a few bits of good timber that we can definitely make use of around the site, and then we've got a few raised beds as well. I think there's a couple more in there, but really handy to have those, and in fairly good condition. Need a bit of the grass brushing off, but generally in good condition. So there we are. That's the majority of things cleared out from around the pond. These are some of the rotten bits that we've got. These are some of the good bits that we can keep and definitely make use of. And they are the 4 raised beds that have come out of there. Definitely going to be making use of those. I think they're mostly in good condition. There's a little bit of rot on the corner of that one, but nothing too major. And definitely something we can make use of on the new plot. The next stage is getting out what we think is the door from the polytunnel. Just putting that somewhere secure until we start rebuilding again. A little bit of work later and we officially have a path and a small bed at the end there. Not sure what we'll put in that, but we can now actually get to the shed without walking through a ton of grass. And filled that space in there with some brand new slabs that were sitting in the shed. So a little bit of work to be done, just sweeping and tidying up the edges, but looking much better.
Right, thank you very much, Dan. Lots going on. Shed's looking great. Chilies are looking a bit sci-fi, if I'm honest. I do some chilies at home, nowhere near as scientific as that. I plonk them in some pots and I hope for the best, and they hopefully go. We'll see. They're growing quite nicely. Shed is looking much neater and tidier. Today we've got something to do I'm a little bit worried about, because on my last plot, and if you look way back when, on the first plot that I had, we had bindweed everywhere. I didn't really know what it was at the time. I am now a little bit more versed in the horrific ways of bindweed. Now, the problem was we made discovery of that when we lifted some, the weed suppressant material, and we lifted it up, and there it was, like a great big thick udon noodle mess. We have got some of the roots at the bottom of the plot here, and I'm going to try and get rid of some of those. But to put the blackcurrants in a bit, I've got to lift up some weed suppressant material. And I'm really, really hoping that it's just not bombarded with bindweed. But we shall see, shan't we? So let's go and have a look. Right, before we continue, a couple of new purchases today. Ourselves some new secateurs and a pruning saw. That's going to be for these trees, although I have done some of it, some thicker bits, and I'm thinking that there might be some canker on here, which I shall discuss either later or in another video, if you're unaware of what that is. And also some mealworms for the little birdies. I've seen a good few robins around here. So, rightio, let's have a look. This is the area in front of you right now with the cover over it that we are going to pull up today. We're going to put 5, I think it is, blackcurrant bushes in here, which Dan got from Poundland. So we're going to see how it goes. £2.50. I did look online, and there's some good reviews for them. So we're going to plonk them in and see what happens. I'm really hoping I don't pull that up there and there's loads of weeds or weed roots. That's what I'm really hoping. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig the holes, put them in with some bloodfish and bone, and then cover over with a mulch of compost, probably a whole heap of compost, a bag of mine and a bag of Dan's, to give it some nourishment, I think. Okay, let's have a look and see how that goes, shall we? Right, I have prepared the bed as well as the bed can be prepared. I've dug some holes in which I am now going to put our blackcurrants. Here's our bare root that we had earlier. I'm going to take these down. It's now been soaking in the water for around about 40 minutes. That rehydrates the roots, you see. And when we're going to put them in a minute, then we're going to give them a good water. And they should, hopefully, get up to a nice new life. And what I'm going to do here is I've got the hole that I've dug. This is blood, fish and bone, what we spoke about earlier. It's not particularly nice stuff, if I'm honest, but plants love it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chuck some of this in here. I'd recommend using gloves, but you know what I'm saying, I'm not at the moment. So we're going to chuck that in there. I'm going to chuck some compost in there. Just to give it a good start, you know. That should do it for that, I think. We got our bare root. Now you want it to be coming out, just sticking out the ground. All your roots are here, okay? So you just want it to be sort of where my fingers are there. We sort of put it there. That looks good to me. Put a bit more compost around it. That should get her off to a good start in life. There we go. Nice bit of compost, a little bit more of this around it. You got to push her in and we move this soil back in around her. This soil is actually pretty good. There we go. You big clumpy boy out the way. There we have a blackcurrant in the ground, hopefully to provide us with loads of blackcurrants in the coming months. And what we're going to do is now, I'm going to do the same with all the rest of the holes. I'm going to put some cardboard over it because while I was digging it, there were quite a few root weeds in there, which I'm thinking might have been couch grass, something along those lines. I've got a bucket there where I've got loads of them out. So I'm going to put cardboard over it. And then I'm going to put a load of compost all over the top of it. And hopefully that will starve any weeds of light. And our blackcurrants should be ready to thrive. Those sharp-eyed amongst you might realise that that sky is not the sky that we had at the beginning of this video. Oh no, this morning is Sunday. It is bloody lovely out here. It's a bit cold, but the clouds are gone. Now, I had a microphone mishap yesterday, which meant my little sign-off video didn't work. So I thought, you know what? Let's get back down there. Let's go and get some gooseberries into the ground, which I will now call goosgogs moving forward. That's what my mum calls them. We're going to get them into the ground. It's a glorious morning and it was a great excuse to come down. But there's one more reason I've come down this morning. We've had a little chat, Dan and I, and we're just thinking about the possibilities of chickens. Yes, chickens on the plot. And we do have a member of the committee who has chickens on their plot, and we're going to have a natter with them about it and the sort of things that it involves. Not going to do that on this video. However, in an upcoming video at some point soon, bird flu dependent, we will have some of those chickens on our plot, and Chris, who has the chickens, will be having a natter to us about them. So if you have questions about chickens, because I know that when people want an allotment, loads of you, myself included, want chickens, and there's loads of questions about them, we can get the answers. Ask away, and I'll let you know when that video is coming up. It all depends on the bird flu situation at the moment, but we will So yes, another day. You may be able to tell from my very demeanour that I'm not as hungover as I was yesterday. That hangover was, of course, partly caused by Dan, my co-allotmenteer. He will be down later. We will be having a chat about the chickens, but I am going to try and get some goosgogs in.